Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session on Right for Tech. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting Shedrack Akintayo on Right for Tech. Shedrack is a renowned developer advocate and a technical writer with over 7 years of experience in technology. He has contributed remarkably to open source projects, developer communities, and developer relations globally. Shedrack has was actually a developer advocate at the Cloud Foundry Foundation and is currently a technical engineer at Cisco. He is also a CNCF ambassador and the founder of DevRel Community Africa. He is also a co-organizer of Open Source Community Africa. He has shared his expertise through numerous talks and workshops at major conferences around the world. We are excited to delve into this journey and insight in technical writing and developer advocacy. Shedrack, thank you for joining us today. Shadi, can you share your journey from being a technical writer to a developer advocate? Like, share your journey, how that went through for you.
Okay, yeah, sure. So I would like to start from I used to be a software engineer, and I also want to lay it out that you cannot be a technical writer without having software engineering experience at some point in your life.
There is the debate
So I
about
used
that
to be a software
still.
engineer initially in my career. I worked for a couple of startups. I worked for a company in San Francisco. I also worked for a company in Lagos, Nigeria, a healthcare startup. And that was the last software engineering, like full time software engineering role I actually had. And for me, it was the reason why I switched from software engineering to technical writing was first things first. I wasn't enjoying full time software engineering. I was much more passionate about helping developers. I was much more passionate about teaching other people what I know. So personally, I wasn't enjoying um, software engineering as the full time job. So one day I woke up and I quit my job. I just said I wasn't going to,
Wow.
do it again. I wanted to transition, right? So I left the company and I
Yeah.
decided to take I think it was like 6 months of my life. I used it to brush up on my writing skills, share a lot more content than I normally would do. Just basically write things out there, just put things out there and help, teach people what I know. That's basically what I was doing. I was just teaching people what I know for the most part. And also research on other topics and teach them too. So that's how the entire process went. And that was it. Then after a couple of months, doing that, sharing my content, putting myself out there, teaching what I know, speaking at events, I got my first job as a developer advocate at the Cloud Founding Foundation. This was in 2020. Yeah, just after,
Yeah.
just during the pandemic. Yeah, during the pandemic in 2020. This
Mm-hmm.
was when I got my first developer relations job. And yeah, it's been how many years now? Like 4 years now. Yeah, 4 years now, and it's been great. It's been awesome. That's like the entire transition process. It wasn't really complex because I already had the passion for teaching
Mm-hmm.
people. I had the passion for educating developers and educating people in general. So it was a very easy switch for me, and I had already been doing something related to it on the side before I quit my full time job to do it full time. So yeah, that's the story. Nothing too
So when
fancy,
when
nothing
you
too
when you quit
serious.
your job to take this full time and you took that 6 month break, did were you taking on any projects or you just completely didn't take anything and focus full head on that 6 months?
No, no, no. When you live in Nigeria, when you live in Nigeria and you need to make ends meet, you don't have the luxury to do that, right? You don't have the luxury to just
Yeah.
stop taking projects. So I was taking on technical writing projects, right? I was taking
Mm-hmm.
on I had signed up with Smashing Magazine. I was writing for Smashing Magazine as well as a
Yeah.
guest author, and I was being paid for that. For every article every
Mm-hmm.
article I generate, I get paid for that. I was also with Log Rockets. I was also creating content for Log Rockets, and I was also paid for that. So those were also ways for me to improve myself and actually get paid for it, because at the end of the day,
Mm.
I still need to make ends meet, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I also was taking on contract gigs from someone So there was this guy that I had connected with over a couple of years ago, and he had an agency that needs technical writers. So I also was like working for him at some point, like on a contract basis, on a per article basis, and I was also getting paid for that. So that was like how I was able to survive that period without actually having a full time job.
That's interesting. Really interesting. Can you like share with us like the skills from your technical writing experience that have been most beneficial to your like DevRel role?
I think for me, it's paying attention to details, right? When you're a technical writer, you have to be, I would say, one, empathy, and two, paying attention to details. So when you're a technical writer, you have to, you are educating someone on something, right? So you need to be able to hit the nail on the head, tell them exactly what they need to learn from that particular piece of writing that you're writing, and also educate them properly. Like make sure that your education process is if as effective as possible. So that has like really really helped me. And I think another thing is empathy. You're writing for an audience. You need to be, you need to put yourself in the shoes of that particular audience. Are you writing for mid-level engineers? Are you writing for senior level engineers? Are you writing for very beginner engineers, right? Like whoever you're writing for, you need to be able to put yourself in their shoes. And that way, that has helped translate to my developer relations job because as someone in developer relations, your main audience are developers, right? You need to find ways to make life easier for them with whatever tool it is you're trying to market or sell to them, right? You need to find ways to make improve the developer experience. So that entire process has really helped me think like effectively on how to improve developer experience, which is a very key part of developer relations, and then also write better. Like so it's very difficult for like I've seen developers like just developers that do not have any writing skills. It's always difficult for them to like teach people. It's very difficult for them
Yeah,
to educate other developers or talk about their work. And me
yeah.
having technical writing experience, it makes it easier for me to help them. Like you have an idea you want to talk about. We worked on a new feature at work that we want to talk about. You are the engineer that worked on it, but you don't exactly know how to like tell people that this is why I did this. This is how you can use it. That's where I come in because my technical writing experience then translates to that particular position where I can take those release notes, take the feedback from the team, bundle it into a very, very insightful piece on that particular feature. So like these are like two very key skills that I've gotten during my role as a technical writer and has translated to like being a developer advocate or being in developer relations in general.
Okay. So I would say that so if a software engineer wants to transition to a DevRel, they would need technical writing knowledge and experience. Do you agree with that?
Yes,
Do you
yes, they will
think
need technical
that's
writing
so? That's a
skills
very
because
required.
yeah,
Okay, okay, okay. So in
yes,
your
yes, because like
sorry, go on.
because like as a software engineer and as a developer advocate, you would spend a lot of time writing walkthroughs, creating tutorials. Like you spend a good chunk of that educating developers. That's the whole point of developer advocacy, right? You are being a friend for developer. You're making life easy for them. So you
Yes, because
would
that's the
need
audience.
technical writing experience to be able to like yeah, like help the audience. So that's it. That's what me I believe.
Okay, awesome. So that transition now as a DevRel, what was like the significant learning experience you had? Like what you can just tell us maybe a story over time where you in that transition where you had like this big learning experience, something that you will never forget, or should I say it's a big takeaway from that experience for you? Like that was like a big game changer once you were able to scale through that transition.
I would say, I think I would say for myself, I would say it was it's very complicated. Like I think for me, it's basically how much I had to learn in terms of like things other than from tech, like things other than tech, right? The thing about developer relations is that I mean, tech is one part of it, but those soft skills like public speaking, conflict resolution,
Yeah,
things like
that's a big
doing things
one.
with empathy, thinking about people. I think those things are like very very key aspects of developer relations that a lot of people do not really take seriously, but it's one of the most important aspects. And what it gets very difficult for you to to be a developer advocate if you don't have those things on lock, right? So when I was able to like learn all those particular skills, those soft skills, I think like that was the most difficult part for me. And when I was able to scale through it, the rest of the things I needed to do were like hard skills and were like something I could easily learn and like was on up from there.
Okay. You mentioned that there's one thing developer advocacy need to do, like developer experience is a big deal when it comes to being a DevRel or dev advocate, yeah? What other important thing
Yes,
would you
yes.
say is a big deal for a DevRel, for a technical writer that want to transition? What other things do they need to keep in mind? So what's like their responsibilities? Like
Yeah,
what's
like
the
I
responsibility
mentioned.
between a technical writer and DevRel? Aside that developer experience.
So yeah, like I mentioned, yeah. Aside developer experience, right? You need to have like good soft skills. Like as a technical writer, you really do not interface with people a lot. Like you just get a lot like outside the company, right? You do not interface with people outside the company. You do more of internal talks between engineers, right? So I think a key skill you need to do understand is you need to learn how to communicate with people outside the company. So you need to learn how to interface with people that are not from like you're not familiar with. You need to learn how to talk to people and understand their pain points, and use it. Like that's one key part. And of course, you need to be very technical. Like you need to be able to sell the product properly. And also, you need to. The thing about developers is the difference between a developer advocate and a marketer or a salesperson is one very key thing: technicality. The technicality gap is there. That's the reason why we have. I like to think of developer advocacy as technical marketing, because you are marketing a product to somebody, but the difference between you and a regular marketer is that you can speak the language of that particular person you are selling, you're trying to sell to, right?
Yeah,
Developers are
yeah,
very, very special human beings, right? They do
yeah.
not like marketing. They do not like you coming and saying, I want to sell this thing to you. They like to be lied to. They like to be lied to. That's one thing about developers I don't
Seriously.
really understand. And yeah, and the truth is that developer advocates have understood that for me to actually sell this thing to this particular audience of developers, I need to be like them. I need to be able to speak the language. I need to be able to tell them the technical details that they're actually interested in, right? Like you need to be able to speak the language they understand. So that's what
Yeah.
make that's the difference. Like being very technical, right? If you are really, really technical, you can you can do basic stuff. You can build apps. You can do stuff with what you are trying to sell. I'm going to be convinced to want to actually listen to you, because I know you are being in my position. You know the pains I'm experiencing. You know all the things I'm experiencing. So you telling me that, oh, this would work for me, then because you've actually tried it and it worked for you and you're trying to recommend me to me. So that's like the psychology of like developer relations and technicality.
Okay. You before you quit your job as a software engineer, right, and transition into that, is there anything you miss, like as a software engineer or a technical writer, like full time before you became a dev advocate, that you currently don't have in your current
Um,
job or you're not doing right now?
I would say for me, yeah. I would say for me, yeah, it's I don't think there's anything I really miss, right? I think I miss being at home. Like I miss sitting down in my house for every single day of my life. I miss it because like as someone in developer relations, I'm always traveling, right? Like I'm always traveling to events to speak to people. I'm always giving workshops here and there. Like I miss staying at home and not having to worry about like traveling, because I hate applying for visas. So I miss that
Uh
entire process of not having
Man,
to worry about traveling. So that's it. That's the main thing. Other than that, I don't really miss anything.
let's say if they were to take out the traveling and just teleported to your destination, that would just be better.
I swear, like that would be the best thing.
Okay, so this I'm also curious if I do want to have this thought of being a DevRel and I want to like be inspired because I know you've made a lot of impact. Can you give us one example of a project you did that impacted the developer community?
Yeah. By developer community, do you mean for a business or for me personally?
It can be either. Just you can just give me one example or just one experience. Share with us.
Yeah, sure. So in 2021, I think 2022, 2021, yeah, 2021,
Yeah.
I joined platform.sh, a French company, as a developer relations
Mm-hmm.
engineer. And um, before then, I was brought in to work on they basically help you deploy your applications to the cloud. And I was brought in to work on their JavaScript offering, meaning that they want to improve the developer experience of like the JavaScript offering. And while I spent like a year plus at that company, and when I left, there's a particular headless CMS called Strappy. You probably know
Mm-hmm.
Strappy if you are in the front end space. And that was a project I was assigned to work on, right? I was assigned to improve the
Yeah.
whole experience when it comes to deploying Strappy on platform SH. A lot of people actually already do that. And by the time
Mm-hmm.
I left, right, Strappy generated like projects that are built with Strappy generated the most money for the company, and currently
Wow.
still probably is the most deployed application on the platform.
Like giving you shares on it, because I hope you have shares on it already. Because you don't brought in the money.
Yeah, like the thing is that developer relations is a thankless job. It's a thankless job. You do your work and you go and you get paid your salary just about it.
I mean, they should be, or should I say, at least there are situations where they do have like you do have some kind of agreement that will just be between you and HR. Sha. So, what advice would you give technical writers who are
Yes,
looking to
yes.
transition for
I would
dev roles
say
rather?
I would say just do it, right? Like I would say the thing is I would say just apply, just start applying. It's very easy for a technical writer to transition to a developer relations role because a lot of times you would spend time educating developers and you already have the skill, necessary skill needed to do all of those. But of course, you need to improve your public speaking skill. You probably need to improve your technical skill a lot more than
Mm,
normally you need this in your technical writer role. But other than
mm,
that, yeah, I would say just apply. Just start
okay.
applying, start going for interviews, start seeing, like getting feedback from interviewers where you're lacking, work on it,
Mm-hmm.
and you just need 1 year. And when you get 1 year,
Mm.
you're already a
It's
developer advocate. That's it.
thinking about that. One can apply for like 700, but at least out of that 700, one will actually click. Okay, so what
Exactly.
advice?
Like it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game.
Yes, it's actually a numbers game. It's a numbers game. I think I've applied for. There was a time I was applying as a tech writer, and then I think out of 60, I got one. I got one yes, and it was like a very big deal, like a very big deal at the time. So there are obviously some like misconceptions, right, about that rule, or should I say, common pitfalls. What do you think are those misconceptions about DevRel rules, and what would you like advise against?
um,
So, say okay.
I would say, uh, like it's very difficult for you to not make. It's very easy for you to not make any impact in a company that you join as a developer advocate. It's very easy, right? So advocacy is a very interesting job because you are brought in to sell a product to a particular audience, make it easy for them to understand the product, and also help translate the business value of that particular product. It's sometimes it can be very difficult to show the impact that you have on that particular product as a developer advocate or developer relations person. Can be very difficult because developer relations is very difficult to measure, right? Like, what are you measuring? Are you measuring views? Are you measuring sign-ups?
Mm,
Are you measuring activations? Like, that's
yeah,
accounts that signed up and actually use the product. So
yeah.
the amount of metrics that you need to measure is a lot. And if you don't get
Mm,
the right metrics, right, it's very going to be very hard for you to prove that you are actually working or you're actually doing your job. And that way, if you can't prove it, then it means that they're going to render you or lay you off, right? Or render you without a job.
mm,
So I think the very first thing that's a major misconception. I mean, developer relations is not easy. a lot of people think it's a very easy role. Yeah, I just need to,
That's right. That's
know how
what
to
most
write, know
people
how to
think.
speak, and
Just writing is
but
easy.
it's much more than
Exactly.
that. Like there's so many things that because you are exactly like you need to understand that you are at the intersection of engineering, product, marketing, sometimes
Yeah.
sales, sometimes customer support. You're like a
Mm.
jack of all trades. There's no exact definition of what your job is. So
Yeah.
you need to understand that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is another misconception is DevRel is not technical. That's a very very weird thinking. That's a weird way to do it because there's a difference
The
between
name
being a
itself.
DevRel person and being an influencer. You are like there
Mm.
are two different things. Like there are two different people. There are two different people. Like an influencer is someone that has a lot of followers, right? Has people that are following him for one particular reason or the other. Develop people tend to have a lot of followers because they are the ones interfacing with developers. And people like your content, people will follow you. So it doesn't mean that
Mm.
you are an influencer because you are in Devrel. No. There are Devrel people that have 100 followers, 300 followers, but they're creating massive impact in their companies. So that's it. Devrel is not does not relate
I
to
was going
any
to
social
ask
media
that
or
question.
influencer thing.
I was going
So
to
that's
ask
another
that question.
misconception that I want to really put
Exactly.
out there and clarify. Yeah, ask.
Exactly. I wanted to ask that question because that was also something that because the fact that there's this assumption that people will consider you like as the best option if you do have like a high level of following or personal influence before you take the role. Yeah. So that was what I was going to ask, but you just answered
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's more on the impact and less on the being the influencer. Okay, okay, that makes
Yes,
sense because you already
exactly.
answered that. So. Okay, okay. But how do you see it evolving in the tech industry? Do you think we have enough developer advocates?
Um, that's a very interesting question. I've not actually thought about it before. I think we do have a fair number of developer advocates, and I think there's still room for more developer advocates. So the
Hmm.
thing is about tech is that it will always evolve. Like there's always going to be a new developer tool that's exciting. For now, AI is the order of the day, and we've seen the rise of
Yeah,
AI developer advocates, people that are advocates in AI companies that are actually trying to
yeah,
influence more people to use their models, like give
yeah,
product to their models, like all of that.
yeah.
So I feel like developer relations is the kind of role that will probably be existing for a very long time. And no
Hmm.
matter what anybody thinks, no matter what anybody says, that role is
Mm-hmm.
indispensable if done
Mm-hmm.
right. If done
Yeah.
right, there's a lot of value from developer relations. I know companies that have invested in developer relations for over 10 years and they still get
Wow.
value from it. I know companies that have been doing it for 15 years. So it's a role that is still going to be existing no matter what happens. And we have space for more people to come in.
I think I will start transitioning. So how do you balance your technical skills with the soft skill required in DevRel?
uh So a lot of time you use more of your soft skills than technical skills. That's why a lot of people think that developer relations is not technical enough, but it actually is. So the balance for me is I can only speak for myself is because I'm a very very I'm someone that likes to learn, and in terms of developer relations, it's so easy for you to actually stop learning because you have so many other things that you actually need to do. Like you have a shit ton of things that you actually need to do, and you are context switching all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I still take courses to this very moment. In fact, I'm taking a very another course at the moment. So I like to challenge myself every month with a new course to take, learn something new, talk about that thing you've learned, and move on to the next thing. Like that's the
Mm.
way I balance my skills, like across both soft skills and hard skills. I just constantly learn, right? You have, as a developer relations person, you have to constantly learn. Like you have to put yourself on a pedestal that whenever new AD technology comes out, I should be the first to check it out.
Yeah, to stay ahead of.
I should get enough foundational knowledge to be able to talk about it, to stay ahead of
Yeah.
the game because it's very easy to actually lose plot sight of the plot. It's very, very easy to actually lose
Mm.
yourself in developer relations because you are doing so many different things. You will not have time for yourself. You will not have time to learn. But
Mm.
I would say that if it's even if it's once a week or once a month, try to pick up something new and learn, and it's go a long way for you.
I even need that. Thanks for sharing that with us. Can you share one success story that you're most proud of currently?
Like in developer relations or personally, like
Yes,
in
yes.
general.
As a developer, you can see. In fact, I'm curious for the person now, but let's start with you as a developer relations.
Success story. I would say that a company that I was working for, I mean, got acquired at for Cisco, got acquired by Cisco for $650 million. I think that's like an impact my work has had,
That's
right? Like in my experience. So
wow.
so I think that's enough success story for me because I know that my work has like been impacted a company to get acquired for $650 million. Like, come on,
Yeah, that's a big
that's
deal.
good.
That's a
That's
big deal.
enough. Yeah, that's a big deal.
How about personally?
Personally, I would say success story like being. I would say getting endorsed by the UK government for being a global talent. I think that's like a really nice success story for me because I mean you know where I started from, you know how I got
Yeah,
here,
of
so
course.
like
Of
it's a
course.
big deal.
Of course. Of course. I'm happy for that, man. I'm really happy for that. So, we didn't really talk much on the community building part, but how important is it in DevRel roles? And like, what
I,
strategies have
it's
you
the
like
most
found
important.
most effective? Okay, then what strategies have you found that is most effective when building community?
I'd say first is first knowing your audience. When you know your audience, you know the kind of community you want to build. Secondly, is giving your community members like a way to say their minds, like being open to feedback because that's the only way the community can be good when everybody in the community can actually say what's bothering them or talk about their pain points. And their pain points is data. Like developer relations is a very very data focused role because when you can get data of a group of people are telling you, oh, the reason why we cannot use your application is because the sign up page is broken, like, or
Mm,
one particular aspect of that particular SDK is not great for their particular use case. That way, you
yeah.
can improve the product and also retain your users. So, giving them the ability to give you feedback is a very major part of your community. And secondly is thirdly, sorry, lastly, I would say that being able to reward your champions, like, is a very very key part
Mm,
of community building. A lot of times, right? A lot of the communities that we have, like open source, enterprise, etc. I've noticed that like people, even though a lot of people are not getting paid for being in a community, it's nice to actually show appreciation to like your community members once in a while for their activity, maybe for their activity in the community or for whatever they've been able to do for the community. I feel like it's just a nice way. Human beings are like reward like minded. Like
mm,
you would see you would see someone very very active if he knows that there's a reward for what they are doing, no matter how it is. Like, yeah, there's passion. Yes, people do have passion, but sometimes rewards help go a long way. And I'm not meaning like, oh, spending big budgets on rewards. I'm saying things like, oh, giving them a shout out, like, sending them a message personally, thanking them. Could be swag, like, swag from
does,
the company. Like, that's the
I was
reason
going
why
to
this
ask, does it
particular
involve
project,
swags
that
or
already
perks?
exists. No, like developers like swag a lot. So swag is a very very nice thing to do for developers, and that's worked, at least to an extent. That's worked a lot. So I would say, yeah, those three things, like listening to your community, giving them the ability to give you feedback, then also rewarding your champions, like, are very very key parts, and also of course knowing your audience.
Oh, that is very important. Well, I must say that everything you shared with me, with us, is actually very vital, and I really appreciate you just coming to really share your experience with us. Is there any final thing you would like to share with us about this topic that would be helpful for anybody that wants to start out or just in that transition, and it would be a big help for them?
Yes, yes, yes. So we at DevRel Community Africa, we are like kickstarting a bunch of a bunch of series on how to like on several topics in developer relations. We are having
Mm-hmm.
like industry experts come on to come and share their experience. So if you are interested in becoming a developer relations, then you should definitely join any of the webinars. We have one happening tomorrow. So if you go to devrel.com.xyz, devrelcomafrica.xyz, you can join our Slack, can join our community, subscribe to our newsletter to keep, to stay ahead of like any news that we have, and also to be a part of the session. I think that's like the main thing I want to share.
Right. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I really appreciate your time. And I think we'll be seeing you in the next one.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Shegun, for having me.
Stop recording now.